We're good? Okay. Pasach Eliyahu. So this was a Maamer said by the Alter Rebbe, and it's from the Sefer Torah, and it's placed in the section of the Parsha Vayera because it has some connections with the Parsha. Some of the things that we're going to learn about connects with some psukim in the Parsha. Okay. Pasach Eliyahu. Eliyahu opened, and he said, Antu chad, you are one, v'loi b'chushbin, but not in number, not in numerical value. Antu da'afikas eser tikkunin, you are he who brings forth 10 garments. Lahavin inyan, and we're trying to understand this idea of lama nikra yud sfiros, inyan zeh, lama nikra yud sfiros b'shem tikkunin. Why is it that the 10 spheros are called garments? So he does it, we preface, as Sarch Lahaktim, we need a preface, Biur Inyan Mohus HaNefesh, to explain the idea of the core of the soul, like the being, the Mohus, the identity, the being of the soul, how the soul functions. It says, Kihine HaNefesh Mitzad Atzma, the soul in and of itself, the soul's like inherent state, Hi Ar Pashut, is a simple, non-distinct light, bli hischalkos, without any division, seichel umidas, of intellectual faculties or emotional faculties. V'haseichel v'amidas shalah, and that which could be called the intellect or the emotions of the soul, hein bechinas levushin lenefesh. It's called garments of the essence, soul light itself. Sha'nefesh yesh la seichel umidas, because the soul does have these faculties, these abilities for intellect and emotions. But the essence state of the soul is not seichel or midos. It's the soul. It's the simple, non-distinct light. So there's a bit of a parenthesis here that we'll skip for now, and B'ezrat Hashem will get back to it at some point. So yeah, the seichel and midos, they're not the mohus, the atzmius hanefesh. They're not the essence being the core of the soul. Elashein nikrayim b'shem tikkunin, but they're called garments, the intellect and emotional faculties of the soul, that the soul quote unquote wears them as garments. Shanefesh mistakenes mislabeshes behem, because the soul actually it enhances itself and enclothes itself within these faculties or these garments. Ukemaisha targum unkulis al pasuk la yalvish gaver simlas isha. And this is from what it says in the Targum. On the pasuk it says a man should not wear the garment of a woman. And the Targum in Aramaic is la yitakin gaver b'tikkunei asasa. So we see that the word tikkunei, a tikkun, is basically the Aramaic word for a garment. So this idea of the soul having these garments of thought and speech, that if we basically bring back what is the core of our intellect and our emotion, where we are kind of source it back to within ourselves, within our body, we reach a state where we have this potential for the entirety of how we think and how we feel, basically. And that is basically the intellect and the emotions of the soul. That this is where all of our different paths of thinking and feeling are really going to stem from. But if we go deeper than that, we have this indivisible light, which is just us. It's the uniqueness of who we are, which is even deeper than our thoughts and our emotions. But that being, that soul, the you, the me, it shines through these garments of intellect and emotions, that our unique personality and way of being is going to be seen, it's going to be shined through the way that we think and the way that we feel. That the way that we think is going to be the way that we think, that I think, that you think. The way that we feel is going to be the way that I think, that I feel, that you feel. It's going to be unique to us. So that experience is basically this essence, the essence of the soul shining through these garments. And he says something very interesting. He says that, one second. He says, "V'inyan tikkun," and in this situation, when he's calling a tikkun like a garment, he says humelashin tachshit. It's like a cosmetic. It's like makeup. It's like an ornament. Shemiskashet by, that you like beautify yourself. Umispal mimenu, and then you become like enhanced. Like it arouses a certain excitement or like a certain type of like new like experience within you. That now like you're wearing this ornament or this makeup or whatever. That now like you feel like you're beautifying yourself. And the reason why it's called like an ornament, the cosmetic, in the mashal is varemis achid im tachshit. It's because the person who puts on a cosmetic actually becomes one with it. That it's like a skin product. Like you're actually like rubbing it into your face. It's actually joining with your face basically to enhance it. That he's being misachid, unifying with this type of cosmetic. Ki'ilu hu megufay mamish, to the point where it's basically like a part of your body. And ukumai hanafesh im haguf. And he gives another mashal, aside from the mashal of this cosmetic, he gives a mashal of like the soul relationship with the body, the relationship between the soul and the body. He says, She'ema yesh shaguf hu levush lenefesh. Even though the body it could be called a garment for the soul, like as a whole. But still the soul becomes like excited, it becomes aroused to like in certain like emotions or states of being from the essence of the body itself, from the source of the body itself. And he explains this is like shehaguf naikif etzbai, like if someone would like, hurt their finger, let's say, if someone cuts their finger, margeshes hanefesh, the soul will feel it also. And similarly, if it arouses like in the will of the soul, the pile is a pu'ula, to do a certain thing. If a person decides he wants to move his hand, he wants to affect a certain pu'ula be'ivarim in his limbs. Ha'ivarim nishmayim l'ratzain zeh, the limbs are going to listen to this will or this decision, take it from miyad right away. When it arises in the mind, la'asais pu'ula, ha'pu'ula, to make this movement. Ha'regol ha'ilach by, like the foot to walk, the decision of the feet or the legs are going to walk. Belishum kedimus hispashtus v'amshachas hamachshava mehamayach beregel, without there needing to be any like time for the thought of moving the foot to like be transferred into this foot's ability to move. It happens like seamlessly. There doesn't have to be this time. Because if there would need to be some sort of like expression, this active expression from the soul into the body when a person wants to move, then there would be like a little period of time when a person decides he wants to move and when he actually moves. But we see that there's not even v'harei einay shayha afilu rega. It's not even like a second. Elamiyad, right away, sha'ayla b'ritzaynei chulu, when it arouses in a person's mind. So the relationship between the soul and the body is deeper than just like the body being a garment for the soul, because the body actually becomes like this seamless operational system of the soul, in which the soul actually is able to like be, in the driver's seat, so to speak, of the body and conducting the body. And the relationship between the soul and the body is like both ways, where if something gets hurt in the body, the soul feels affected by it. If something gets aroused in the soul, it'll cause the body to, act based on that, and it's seamless. So the garment of the body is actually becoming, in that sense, unified with the soul, so that there's like this seamless operation, this seamless function from soul to body, where it's not just like, it's programming in a certain way, and it needs for there to be an active, period of movement from the desire to the action. It's like totally unified in this same type of way as like a cosmetic, where it becomes unified with, person's skin. It's like if someone's touching like a person's shirt, it's not like they're touching the actual person. But if like someone puts something on their cheek, I don't know, whatever, like a cream, and the person touches, it's like they're touching the actual person. So it's this I don't know if that's a word, unified state of the body and the soul. And he says, however, ein ze ella mipnei sha'guf misachid im hanefesh. This is the reason for this is because like the soul becomes one, becomes unified with the body. The body becomes unified with the soul. Va'nefesh payelas by kiritzaina. And the soul now is able to affect that the body is going to act according to the ratzon, according to the will of the soul. Kilo it's musa umahusa mamish, as if it was literally the same essence and being of the soul, because it's a seamless movement, a seamless connection, transference. V'avsha guf hu levush hanefesh, and even though the body is a garment for the soul, so to speak, puts on the body, it comes down into this world. Still it still unifies with the soul. There's not a degree of separation. It's like you point to where is you in your body? Like, where are you? It's like you're everywhere. Because when your soul comes into your body, it literally becomes this unified thing where it takes up the entirety of who you are, is now your soul and your body. So he's going to bring this even deeper. He's going to say this connection between the body and the soul at a deeper level is also the connection between our potentials, our essential faculty, our essential abilities for thought or for intellect and emotion, as they are relative to our soul essence, soul light, the peshitus of our soul. He says it's this same type of way. That the intellect and the emotions of our soul are the garments, are the clothing of our soul. Where the soul becomes enhanced and encloses itself in them, and it becomes the vessel for the soul, that within them and through them, they actualize, they affect, they cause there to be a manifestation of a certain thing coming from the soul. Like the axe in the hand of the wood chopper. That the soul, basically, the way that it controls the body, or the way that even deeper than it controls the body, the way that it controls and conducts the faculties of emotions and intellect, is in the same way as like a person holding an axe. The axe by itself, it's not going to be able to chop any trees. A person by himself, he's not chopping the trees, but when he's holding the axe, he now has like this conduit, this transmissive thing that he's now able to do what he wants and chop down the tree. So the soul, as it is in its essential state, it's beyond having any individual thought or feeling or anything like that, because it's higher than that, it's deeper than that. We're not pinned down by our thoughts or emotions. We're beyond that. But in order to, express oneself and to connect with someone else, to have a relationship, the soul, it's necessary for the soul to shine through these garments of intellect, of thought, or of emotion, in order to basically, express, in order to carry out what it is that the soul wants to do, in order to fulfill the purpose that the soul has in the world. La'ayev b'midas ha'ava, to love with the emotion of love. Lahaskil b'chachma, to think with his chachma, with his wisdom. Chulu. Shekolza, that all of this, and more, hurak pu'ulas hanefesh. This is the impact, this is the affectation, the manifesting of the soul, v'hispashtus, and it's v'hispashtusa, and the soul's extension into these faculties, she'enon ela mimena lezulasa, which is only there from it to someone else. That the reason why the soul is going down into these faculties is to have a relationship, to connect with others. If we were just, if there was only one person on earth, we wouldn't really need necessarily to have these faculties as much, because we would just have everything within ourselves, and we'll be able to relate to ourselves from our essence being. But when we're put in a world where we have to navigate these interpersonal relationships and connect with other people, and we go through different experiences that we need to process, then the soul needs to shine through these faculties in order to really operate properly in the world that we live in. But avala nefesh mitzad atzma, but the soul like from its essence state, he l'mayla mikol b'chinas halal. It was higher than all of these faculties, higher than all of these individual feelings or thoughts, etc. Sharei haseichol v'hamidos hein mikablim shinuya. And the main way that we see this is that the intellect and the emotions, they undergo change. They go through different states, where it could be, he says, for example, kibamidas, for emotions, with regards to emotions, for example, yesh katnos v'gadlos. There is children and there is adults. Sha'katan ayev devarim katanin, where a child, he loves things which are smaller. He loves less important things, more trivial things. And his emotions are therefore they're basically smaller. They're not as advanced or developed. While as opposed to the emotions of an adult, his emotions are going to be more developed, more enhanced. He's not going to be interested in such trivial things, because the emotions are actually able to undergo change. As opposed to the essence of the soul never changes. We always are going to stay uniquely who we are. And the same thing he says, V'aseichel, and also with intellect. Kol zman shemazkinim. It's like as we get older, our seichel is always strengthening. It's always getting stronger. V'loi shayach kol zan. None of this is relevant, ba'atzmius hanefesh, with the essence of the soul. U'mehusa, and its being, its core. She einay bala shinoim klal. It doesn't undergo any changes whatsoever. The essence of who you are is going to stay who you are. Ve'einay mikabelas shinoim mimikari haguf. And similarly, it's not going to be there's not going to be any changes being affected from it because of the source of the body, because of its source in the body. The body isn't going to affect an inherent change to the essence of the soul. Because the essence of the soul itself isn't really enclosed directly in the body. Ella, rather, ha'araisaha, it's like reflections, it's rays, the rays of the light of the essence of the soul, and its ability is all potential, which is that which is actually extending into the body, and being enclosed in the body. It's the aspects of the soul which are basically the soul's garments, the intellect or the emotions of the soul which are going into the body. Those are basically affecting, they are able to change based on the differences, shinuyim mitzad gufa makabo, based on the differences of the body of the person who's receiving that soul or that idea from the essence of the soul. Bekatan kach, bezaken kach, with a young person like this, with an old person like this. That depending on the makeup of the person's body, how the person is, how old the person is, how smart the person is, how emotional the person is, then that's going to affect a change in the light of the soul as it's going into those faculties, going into the body, as it's going into the emotions and the intellect, which are causing this movement and this being, this personality, this cohesive personality of the body. And then when it comes to the intellect and emotions, therefore, they're only really rays of the soul. And the abilities, the power, the potential for the soul. As it's being drawn into the body. But they aren't the essence, the core being of the soul in and of itself. That the intellect and the emotions, they're what the soul is affecting a movement in, or it's in order that the soul can have a relationship with the body. It's being enclosed in these intellectual and emotional garments, and the intellectual and emotional garments which the soul is enclothing itself into do undergo a change based on the type of body which that soul is going into. But the essence of the soul, it remains unique and unchanged in relation to the body that it's going into. It stays in its like perfect, unique state, which is I think it's a very empowering idea, because we feel very often that, we're controlled sometimes by our thoughts or by emotions. It's like I feel like I'm lost in these things that I'm feeling. It's like, oh, I can't move forward because of these feelings or these anxieties or whatever it might be, these thoughts. But when we realize that at our deepest state, we are this unique, unified, like light, this core of energy, which is just us. And we're never going to lose that. And that's never going to change, no matter what we think or what we feel. It's very powerful because we have something that we can go back to and just be present within ourselves, where we could go above how we feel or above how we think, and we can be in just a state of like cohesion and unity with ourselves when we tap into that place. One second, what was I? Yeah, Alshech hanefesh payelas umispashatas b'kayches vares halalu. The soul extends itself; it shines into these abilities and these reflections. But still, einan levushim nifradim mamish. They aren't totally separate garments. K'may machshava dibur u'maisa, like thought, speech, and action. Shein ha'ayres v'kayches ha'malvishim mamish esa nefesh, which are lights and abilities, like energies, which are literally enclothing the soul. K'may levush ha'mekasa, like a concealing garment. Okay, so this is very deep what he's saying here. He's basically, we all have the essence of our soul, which is that unique state, and then we have our unique ability to think or to have intellect and to have emotion, which is still this very deep state of just like inherent to our being. It's like how much are we tuned to the side of chesed or to the side of gevura, or how much the way that our chachma works and our bina works. It's all very much like connected, unified in that sense with the essence of our soul, in that same way as like the cosmetic, where it actually becomes one with the essence. But then we have our thought, speech, and action. And our thought, speech, and action is already like the processes of how we carry out like what we want to carry out. It's already like a lower state. It's already a state of an outer concealment, a garment which isn't unified, a garment which is like being put on, where the way that we think and the way that we talk and the way that we act, it really needs to be finely tuned to, the space that we're in and the people that we're dealing with. Because our intellect and our emotions are uniquely something that we can experience like within ourselves. We can feel how we feel, we can think how we think. But machshava is already, when you have a thought, the first time when it comes into your brain, that's still within the realm of like your seichel, your intellectual brain. But machshava is already what you're choosing to think about. It's already something which you could say is like totally in your control. Where, if the first time someone, let's say, has a negative thought during davening, they're able to like push it away or like, take themselves away from that. It's not like the person did anything wrong at that point, because you don't control what comes into your brain. But then if someone chooses, I'm going to think about that again, that thought that I had, then that's already within their control. They're already actively choosing to do something which isn't right. So our machshava, dibur, and maisa is already the states of being where it's like the output of our intellect and emotion. It's already how we're going to process it, what we're going to do with it. Are we going to bring it into our conscious thought? Are we going to bring it into our conscious speech? Are we going to speak it out? Are we going to act upon it? And this is both, there's the negative side of it, which is like, don't do, don't say, don't think, or don't put conscious thought, don't put conscious words, don't put conscious action into things which are wrong. But it also is the culmination of what we're able to affect in the world, basically. It's like in our positive, it's like we can say holy things, words of Torah, words of kindness to people. We can think holy thoughts of connection to God. We can do holy acts, tzedakah, all of that stuff. Where that's already, it's coming down into the state of being more separate from the essence of our being, and even from our inner states of intellect and emotion, because it's something that we basically are in, like using our free will to conduct, that we're in control of those aspects. So this is what's called a garment, which isn't like enhancing, but it's actually a garment which is concealing. Because I know I think sometimes for myself, like if I'm trying, like even right now, like I'm trying to explain what I'm reading and share it with everyone. And like I'm thinking in my mind, like, wow, this is kind of hard, that to be able to actually, consciously think about what you're reading right now and speak it out. If you guys were able to just see how it looks within the way that I intellectually comprehend it, it would be like, so much more clearer for everyone. For me and for you, because it would be just like this seamless connection. But when it becomes covered up by my conscious, stream of thought being transmitted into my speech, etc., it becomes covered up. The purity of the idea becomes a little more concealed. So the garment of thought, speech, and action is called a garment which actually covers. It actually conceals the purity, the enlightened state of how it exists within art, like uniquely to us. But the thing is that the only way that we can actually express, what's going on, or share something, teach something, is by concealing it from someone else, essentially, or concealing it from ourselves a little bit. That because we conceal it from ourselves a little bit by drawing it down into our thought, our speech, and our action, now it's able to be put out there. Now it's able to exist in the world. People are able to hear it. They're able to connect to it. So, but in relation to the essence of the soul, our thought, speech, and action is already called garments which are covering up. Because the purity, the unity, the uniqueness of the idea gets a little lost in the translation, in the movement, in the transmission. But the intellect and the emotion, they are direct reflections of the essence of the soul. They're the unified garment. And they're not really even called like a garment, tikkunei, but they're called tikkunen, which is a garment which is a deeper state of garment, like the cosmetics that you put on. Sha'atzmusa mistakenes, that the essence of the soul is using it, umisna, and benefiting. It's benefiting from it. It's taking pleasure in it, in the garments of intellect and emotion. Like a cosmetic, shu hamipa as adam, which a person would it beautifies the person. Humiyafa as adam, shemiskashik, by that when he puts it on, umisnana, and he gets he beautifies he beautifies himself with it, and he gets pleasure from it. That the garments of intellect and emotion, they're actually giving the soul more to do, essentially. It's giving it more to access, more to express, what to think about. It's allowing the soul to really express itself in a way that is more unique and cohesive and special, essentially. Because it's still so connected with the soul that when the soul puts on these garments of intellect and emotion, it's really it like has a mouth, it has eyes, it has now what to work with, or what to express itself with. While the state of thought, speech, and action is already a bit like a degree of separation from the soul to the rest of the world, because that's already concealing the purity, the enlightened state, the cohesiveness of the soul's expression. Okay, so I think I'll pause here. What do I do?
All the way to the edge. Should be.
Is the light supposed to turn off?